Hello, welcome back. I just finished Painkillers, which I saw on Netflix, and it was pretty good. The first half of it was really good, and then the second half, it seemed to not be quite as captivating, and it was just seemed like it was missing something. So Painkillers is a story about Purdue, the pharma company, and them making Oxycontin. It's told from multiple perspectives, so it shows the ripples of Oxycontin from the high levels where Richard Sackler and all of the executives of Purdue are, and then down to the very bottom where the end users are using Oxycontin. So in the middle, we also get some people selling the Oxycontin to doctors and how that's going and kind of the moral repercussions of that they deal with. We also see an investigative side. It's told from an investigative perspective. That's how each episode, I think, kind of starts, and the series kind of starts and branches all from that. It's told how the investigation is going and unraveling the investigation, essentially. Painkillers is a very dark and harrowing and depressing show, just because you see Purdue and Richard Sackler pushing profits over people's health, and then the people selling it also just getting power, money hungry, and you see a lot of motivation come from money and power, which is itself is a really big testament to the world. The money and power can just be all consuming, and you really see that especially not only at the top because they're pushing all these profits for this drug Oxycontin, but also at the sales level because they're pushing and prescribing they're pushing the doctors to prescribe more and higher doses of Oxycontin because they'll get paid more for it. It was also showing how the money and power can kind of warp your perspective, thinking and believing that you're doing something good, and that's prescribing these Oxycontin pills or having the doctors prescribe the Oxycontin pills to patients in need. But that's not exactly what reality was. When the pills were being prescribed to the patients and end users, a lot of times they would get addicted to it because it was so addictive. That's what Richard Sackler and the team at Purdue was aiming for, they were aiming for a drug that was getting rid of all your pain, and they would keep coming back to the pain. And it was just a super addictive drug that once people started taking it, they wanted it more and would get more of it, and it would be an endless cycle. They would also need to up their dose because they were building up a tolerance. So it was just all around really terrible. And the show also showed the destruction that Oxy does to not only the end user, but also to their families and those close to them, because of their all-consuming need to get this drug, and the drug literally takes first priority in anything. The start of the show, the first half or so, was really captivating and had me on the edge of my seat wanting to know what happened next. The second half was depressing, but it seemed all over the place, and it was really hard to connect the dots on how they were getting from one to the next. It seemed to gloss over a lot of the details of, especially when they were getting into the case against Purdue and bringing that case in front of a court. It kind of just glossed over a bunch of details, and it made it seem like I was missing something and that there was this big knowledge gap on what happened. It just wasn't as captivating in the second half, even though I'd come to know the characters better and kind of understood their motivations. A lot of it just seemed to lack something, and it made it just not as captivating and as engaging to watch. I know that there's another show that is about the opioid crisis and Purdue Pharma, Oxycontin and everything, called Dope Sick. So I might go check that out to hopefully fill in some more of this knowledge gap, and because I am interested now in what happened with Oxycontin and how it contributed to the opioid crisis that we're in now. What I did like about this show was how they told it from different perspectives, starting with the people at the top, like Richard Sackler and the executives, and seeing how they would basically try to skirt out of problems and were really just trying to sell their products. And that's what they were trying to do, make some money. A whole lot of it, of course. And didn't give any regard for the people who were going to be consuming it. I also didn't have very much knowledge about the opioid crisis prior to watching Painkiller, so it was really educational for me to learn about this, and coming from a show, it made me more engaged in it. And also I furthered my education by looking up some of the things because I was now interested more in it. Overall, I would give Painkillers a 3 out of 5 stars. It was really educational. The first half was really captivating and engaging and flowed really well. The second half was more underwhelming and it was harder to connect some of the dots, but still educational and showed the destruction that Oxycontin did and the ripple effects that it had from the top. With that, I'll see you at the next review.